The Senate Judiciary Committee has released an interim report revealing the incredible full court press, we'll say, we're making sports analogies on the show today, of Donald Trump to have the DOJ overturn the results of the election between the election in November and the insurrection on January 6th, and involved a lot of players, including some who, at least in my perception, largely made it through this period without seeming to have gotten very dirty. So let's see. We have from the day former Attorney General Bill Barr announced his resignation to early January. Trump held at least 9 calls or in-person meetings with senior DOJ officials in which he directly and repeatedly asked them to, quote, initiate investigations, file lawsuits on his behalf, and publicly declare the 2020 election corrupt. And some of the specific things he wanted done include replacing the acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen with Jeffrey Clark, who devised a strategy with the president for the DOJ to intervene in Georgia's appointment of presidential electors and to use this model in other states. Rosen and then acting Deputy Attorney General Richard Donoghue, however, rejected Clark's proposal, with the idea being that they were going to have the DOJ release an official pronouncement that the election's a big old fat phony and that the individual states, just enough coincidentally to make Trump the winner, should have their own slate of electors. Now, what the DOJ has with any of that, I have no idea, but they found it to be compelling. And I believe it was a part of that 6-point plan that the wacko put out a couple of months ago. And then presumably Mike Pence, who has to certify the results, would have then used those now slightly more official slate of electors to say that it's just too difficult, who knows who actually won. And then, I don't know, there's like 7 other steps, and then Trump becomes president once again. And that was the plan. It didn't work, partially because, as we said, Richard Donoghue said no. You also had a number of top members of the DOJ announcing that if any of this happens, they would simultaneously resign. And then that would look horrible, and presumably they would talk to the press about that. And so thankfully this didn't actually happen, but there were a lot of efforts along the way to do it. We'll get to some more details. One quote from Trump that I believe it might have been Rosen that said this was Trump going to a meeting of all these individuals and saying, you guys aren't following the internet the way I am. So they didn't understand how necessary this was. But thankfully, it obviously didn't happen. He's not going to be president again. Apologies if that shakes your worldview. But what do you make of this so far?
I don't think this is a fun story, and I think a lot of stories are fun.
I tried to make it fun.
I know, I hear you, and I appreciate that. No, that's what a coup looks like. Now, there's military coups and political coups. So the military coups are when you roll out the tanks. And by the way, they also had a 3-hour meeting about that. Mike Flynn came to the White House, this was reported earlier, and he pitched martial law, get the military to declare martial law, nullify the election, and then redo the election. And Trump considered that for, and debated it, had everybody debate it for 3 hours. And he was, of course, very much inclined, and everyone else in the room, I think it was Flynn and one other wacko that were arguing for it. And everyone else in the room was like, that would end America. That's not, we don't do military coups, and that's, you would literally roll in tanks and have the military control the country. That's what martial law is. So if you do that, we'll all resign. And so Trump was like, damn it. And so now on this one, this is a political coup. He says Justice Department, that has nothing to do with state elections or how the elections are tabulated at the state level, which is completely a state authority, which by the way, the right wing theoretically agrees with. States' rights, they conduct their own elections.
And is currently taking over.
Yeah, and so Trump says, no, why doesn't the Justice Department just declare that it was fraudulent? Which ones, how, what do we, wait. What? Why would we say that the elections in Georgia are fraudulent? We have no evidence of that. He said, you don't need evidence. You just say that it's fraudulent. And then there's a quote where he says, me and the Republican congressman will take it from there.
Yeah, and that's totally true. That was the next step. They wanted the DOJ to do it. The DOJ apparently wasn't going to, so they said just say it's corrupt. Again, cast a pall over it. That was the whole thing with Ukraine. It was supposed to make it seem as if there was all this shadiness that wasn't there. But I also want to make sure that we know that William Barr apparently put pressure on the DOJ to investigate the elections. He didn't go quite as far as Trump, but he said you need to look into all these elections. Those under him said that there have been investigations. There's no evidence of anything corrupt or shady being done, and he was saying just do it anyway. And that is not something that I remember being talked about widely back in December and January. And he's gone now, so maybe it seems like a moot point. But William Barr was Trump's man, and at least to some point in this, he did try to get Trump what he wanted.
Yeah, and guys, if they had succeeded at that, I need you to understand there was no part of it that was legal. So the Justice Department cannot overturn Arizona and Georgia's elections. It's not a thing. And when he says, okay, it doesn't matter, just call it corrupt, and me and the Republican congressman will take it from there. What does that mean? Well, that means we're just gonna muck up the process. But wait a minute, Republican congressmen at the federal level can't do anything about a presidential election either. Well, this is then Mike Pence will do something, as John explained to you. But wait, Mike Pence is basically doing a ceremonial role. He has no legal authority to say a goddamn thing about the election, and I can prove it instantly to you guys, including right wingers, because otherwise we don't need to have the 2024 election. Kamala Harris could just declare Biden the president, and we're done with it, right?
Well, they'd have to agree with that. Yeah. The right wing would definitely agree with you right there.
That's right. No. If you say Pence could overturn the election in 2020, then Kamala Harris can overturn it in 2024. Stone cold fact. There's nothing you could do about that, right? So none of that is real. None of it is legal. So if they were trying to take power in a non-legal way in an election that they lost, that is a goddamn coup. And so if you do a coup against America, that means you've ended our democracy. You've ended our former government. That is what Donald Trump was definitively trying to do. So there's no debate about Donald Trump. He hates this country. He hates our democracy. And if he ever got elected again, it's over, guys. Next time he's not gonna make those mistakes. He's gonna say, hey, everybody wants to quit. Get the hell out of here. And by the way, the only way he got stopped here is, again, everyone in the room said, including loyalists for years and years, including his White House counsel, including everyone at the Justice Department, except that one lackey. We're like, no, we would all resign instantly because you'd be ending the country. And if he gets a chance again, he's not gonna listen to them. He's gonna end the country. There's no question about it. It's not hyperbole. It's clear, it's in the facts. All right, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. Like literally, it's stark how this matches so similarly to what happened in Chile. Actually, when Salvador Allende got elected, Richard Nixon had the CIA draft up reports to say like, how can we stop the election from being certified? And their effort failed. And then later they literally just did a military coup with Augusto Pinochet. But it is shocking how similar the procedure by which they were trying to do this coup matched to one that the United States had helped orchestrate a long time ago that ended up failing, but then they did another one that ended up succeeding. And that really is where the concern is, right? Salvador Allende thought that he had won when he'd managed to become the president. But that didn't mean that a little bit later, something else could have happened. And people need to understand that Chile was a stable democracy, right? Chile was a stable democracy. This could happen anywhere. And that's what's very, very important, especially when you have a ton of people who are willing to embrace conspiracy theories, because as long as enough people are willing to give any amount of legitimacy to whether it's a person in position of power or a particular like conspiratorial claim, if people are willing to give legitimacy to that in order to justify a coup, then that is a thing that could potentially happen. And I think we're pretty clearly in a spot right now where people are willing to accept nonsense conspiracy theories in the United States.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say a couple more things here. The White House counsel that I referred to supported Trump all throughout, Pat Cipollone. He called Trump's lackey's letter, Clark, the only one at the Justice Department, who said, "Yeah, sure, why don't we do a coup?" In essence, right? And he said, "Yeah, we'll just declare the elections corrupt without any evidence." And Cipollo, the White House counsel, said it was a murder-suicide pact. That's a hell of a quote. What does he mean, murder-suicide? He means you would murder democracy, and we would all be killing our political careers and our own country and everything. We would be doing a coup. What do you know? And he's like, no matter how much I've supported Trump, I will quit instantly. And by the way, let's notice a silver lining here. Even some of the worst Trump people, when Trump actually tried to end America, drew a line and said, no, we will resign and say you're doing a coup if you do that, okay? And that was the only final check on him, as he desperately wanted to do that action.
And my final point, they're not going to be there next time. There's not going to be a Raffensperger. They're being weeded out. They're going to have these years. They're going to have following the midterm election to weed them out. They're not going to be bringing in people into the DOJ like that potentially would stand up against them. There are a few Republicans who voted to impeach Donald Trump. They're all going to be primaried out. Like maybe Romney will survive or whatever. He's powerful enough. But they are weeding out those few remaining bulwarks, and we're going to have to rely on the norms to save us.
John, to your point, a member wrote in earlier in the week, they didn't get to do a coup against America, although they tried, but they did do a coup of the Republican Party. And so the former leadership is gone. Anyone who dissents with Trump is either gone or going. And so if they win again, it's over. It's not an exaggeration. And anyone telling you, including people pretending to be on the left, that Trump's no big deal, and I can't tell who's better, Trump or Biden, Trump or anyone else. You guys are overly concerned about Trump. Those people are either completely ignorant or they're some of the worst liars you've ever seen in your life. I mean, how can you see this information about Trump very seriously considering this was also a 3-hour meeting in the White House, debate back and forth, and Trump was not convinced until the very end when everyone threatened to resign, right? And when you see him attempt a political coup and a military coup and have his own extremists say, no, we're not gonna end the country, and you think it's no big deal, apples and I can't tell either or, no, I can tell. Anyone who votes for Trump hates this country. If you want to cry about it, by the way, I don't care, cry all you want. It's a fact, you should actually do some reading. You should find out what Trump officials are saying. His own guys in the room were like, no, you don't understand how bad it was. And so anyone telling you otherwise is a goddamn liar.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.